It all starts with a surprise for Hannah. Something she has no idea is coming. Something that will completely change how she sees this whole journey. From the very beginning, Hannah is not just a viewer of this project. She becomes a full part of it without even realizing how big it really is. The idea is simple but powerful. Rebuild a completely wrecked Lamborghini Urus and slowly involve Hannah in the entire process so that every step feels like a normal experience, while in reality it is all leading toward one massive final surprise. At first, she is brought into the workshop in a casual way, thinking it is just another car project, something interesting to look at, maybe even help a little with. She walks around a damaged Urus, touching the broken panels, looking at the stripped interior, and asking questions about what happened to it. She is curious, maybe even a little shocked at how badly damaged a Lamborghini can be, but she does not yet understand that this car is going to be rebuilt with her involvement from start to finish. As the project begins, she is slowly encouraged to take part in small decisions, like choosing interior ideas, reacting to design possibilities, and giving her opinion on how the car should look when finished. This makes her feel connected to the build without revealing the real purpose behind it. The team around her treats it like a shared project, explaining simple things in an easy way so she can understand the process, even though the real technical work is much deeper and more complex. Every time she comes to the workshop, she sees small changes happening. Parts being removed, new components arriving, and the structure slowly becoming cleaner and more organized. She starts to feel like she is part of something exciting and creative, but still has no idea that this entire rebuild is being designed around her reaction at the end. The Urus itself becomes like a timeline of moments she is experiencing step by step, from a damaged wreck to a slowly forming super SUV. And while she is involved in conversations, choices, and reactions, the real plan continues quietly in the background, turning this destroyed Lamborghini into a fully rebuilt machine that will one day be revealed to her as the biggest surprise of her life. As Hannah continues to be part of the project, her involvement slowly becomes deeper, without her fully realizing how important each stage actually is. What starts as simple curiosity turns into real interest, and now she is regularly visiting the workshop to see the progress on the Lamborghini Urus. At this point, the car is still in a damaged state, with parts removed and the structure exposed, and she reacts to it every time she sees it, asking questions like how something so expensive could be repaired and whether it is even possible to bring it back to life. The team uses these moments to gently guide her understanding, showing her different parts of the vehicle and explaining things in a simple way, such as how the chassis forms the backbone of the car and how everything depends on it being perfectly aligned. She listens carefully, sometimes surprised by how complex modern cars really are, especially luxury SUVs like the Urus, which are built with advanced materials and precise engineering. As she becomes more comfortable around the project, she is encouraged to take small roles in the rebuild experience, such as selecting interior ideas, reacting to color options, or giving her opinion on design choices. These small decisions make her feel like she is contributing to something meaningful, even though she does not yet know the full truth behind the project. Every time she visits, she notices visible changes, new parts arriving, damaged sections being removed, and the vehicle slowly transforming from a wreck into a structured build. This creates a growing sense of excitement for her, because she can actually see progress happening in real time, even if she does not fully understand the technical depth behind it. Meanwhile, the real rebuild work continues in the background, with the chassis repair and structural alignment being carefully handled by the team. But for Hannah, it all feels like she is simply part of a fascinating restoration journey, not realizing that every detail is being carefully planned to lead toward a final surprise designed specifically for her. This emotional layering is what makes her involvement so important, because it transforms a complex mechanical project into a shared experience that feels personal, engaging, and slowly builds anticipation without revealing the true outcome. As the rebuild of the Lamborghini Urus moves forward, Hannah's involvement becomes even more natural, and she starts feeling like she is part of the project rather than just a visitor watching from the side. By now, the workshop feels familiar to her, and she is no longer shocked by the damaged state of the car. Instead, she is focused on what it can become. The team begins to include her in slightly more detailed discussions, like how the final version of the Urus should feel, what kind of personality the car should have, and what small custom touches could make it more special. These conversations are still kept simple, so she can easily follow along, but they quietly guide her deeper into the vision of the build. At the same time, she starts noticing how serious the damage really is when certain structural parts are shown to her in more detail. The exposed chassis, the cut sections, and the removed components make her realize that this is not just a cosmetic repair. It is a full rebuild from the ground up. She reacts with surprise and curiosity, asking whether a car like this can truly be restored to its original strength and performance. The answers she receives are confident but careful, explaining that with the right process, patience, and correct alignment, even heavily damaged vehicles can be brought back to life. This gives her a sense of hope and excitement, and she becomes emotionally invested in seeing the transformation happen. Every visit now feels like a new chapter for her, because there is always something different to observe, whether it is a newly fitted panel, a clean structural section, or progress on the mechanical side of the rebuild. Even small changes feel meaningful because she has been part of the journey from the beginning. What she does not realize, however, is that each of these moments is carefully timed to build anticipation for something much bigger. The real structure of the plan is not just about rebuilding a luxury SUV, but about shaping her entire experience so that the final reveal will feel personal, emotional, and completely unexpected. While she believes she is simply watching a complex restoration project unfold, she is actually becoming the central part of a much larger surprise that is being built around her presence, her reactions, and her growing attachment to the CAR. As the project progresses further, Hannah's connection to the Lamborghini Urus becomes stronger, and she starts to understand the rebuild on a slightly deeper level, even if she still doesn't know the full scale of what is really happening. By now, the car is no longer just a wreck sitting in the workshop. It is slowly becoming a structured project with clear stages of restoration. She begins to notice how carefully every step is planned, from how parts are removed to how new components are prepared before installation. The team continues to involve her in simple but meaningful ways, such as showing her how different sections of the chassis connect together and explaining why precision is so important in structural repairs. These explanations make her more curious and more respectful of the process, because she starts to realize that rebuilding a Lamborghini is not just about replacing damaged parts, but about restoring exact alignment and factory-level strength. She reacts with genuine interest when she sees the complexity of the chassis work, especially when measurements and alignment tools are used to check whether everything is straight. It surprises her how much detail goes into something that most people would never even think about when looking at a finished car. At the same time, her emotional involvement continues to grow because she feels like she is learning something new every time she visits. The workshop is no longer just a place where work is happening. It becomes a space where she is slowly building a connection with the project itself. Even small updates, like a newly fitted structural section or a cleaned engine bay, feel exciting to her because she has seen the journey from the beginning. The team carefully maintains this balance, keeping her engaged while still controlling how much she understands about the final goal. Behind the scenes, the rebuild is moving through critical technical stages, but Hannah still feels like a fascinating restoration story she is lucky to be part of. What she doesn't realize is that this growing emotional attachment is exactly what makes the final moment so powerful, because by the time the Urus is fully rebuilt, it will no longer feel like just a car to her, but something she's been part of from the very beginning, making the surprise far more meaningful and unforgettable as the Lamborghini Urus rebuild continues to develop. The project reaches a stage where Hannah's involvement feels completely natural, almost like she has always been, part of the workshop environment. By now, she is comfortable walking around the vehicle, observing progress without hesitation, and asking more detailed questions about what is happening at each stage of the restoration. The car itself is slowly transforming from a damaged shell into a structured rebuild, and she can clearly see the difference every time she visits. New panels are being fitted, structural areas are being refined, and the overall shape of the Urus is becoming recognizable again. This visible progress keeps her excited and emotionally invested, because she is watching something broken gradually return to life in front of her eyes. The team continues to guide her understanding in a simple and friendly way, explaining how different systems work together, such as the suspension, chassis, and drivetrain, without overwhelming her with technical details. These explanations help her appreciate the complexity of the project, while still keeping her engaged as a participant rather than an outsider. At the same time, she begins to develop a stronger emotional attachment to the car itself, because she has seen it in its worst condition and is now watching it slowly recover. This makes every improvement feel meaningful to her, even small changes that might not seem important at first glance. Behind the scenes, however, the rebuild is becoming more precise and technical, with alignment checks, structural verification, and mechanical preparation all being carried out carefully to ensure the vehicle will perform perfectly once completed. But for Hannah, the experience remains focused on the visible transformation and excitement of seeing progress unfold step by step. What she still does not realize is that every stage she has been part of is being carefully shaped to lead toward a single final moment, a surprise that will not only reveal the fully rebuilt Lamborghini Urus, but also show her how deeply she has been involved in its entire journey, from start to finish as the rebuild of the Lamborghini Urus moves closer to completion. Hannah begins to notice that the project is entering its final and most exciting stages. The vehicle, which once looked like a heavily damaged wreck, now appears much more complete, with major components installed and the overall structure taking its final shape. She can clearly see the transformation compared to her first visit, and this difference makes her even more emotionally connected to the project. Every time she arrives at the workshop, she expects to see small improvements, but now the changes are much more noticeable. Panels are aligned more cleanly, the interior elements are coming together, and the exterior shape of the Urus is becoming fully recognizable again. She reacts with a mix of excitement and disbelief at how far the car has come, often recalling how it looked at the beginning, and comparing it to its current state. The team continues to involve her in light, engaging moments, such as showing her completed sections and explaining how everything has been carefully restored to ensure both performance and safety. Even though the technical side of the rebuild is becoming more advanced, her understanding remains focused on the visible progress, which keeps her experience simple and enjoyable rather than overwhelming. At this stage, the emotional weight of the project becomes even stronger because she has now witnessed the majority of the transformation firsthand. She feels proud of being part of something so unique, even if she still does not fully understand how central her role has been in shaping the journey. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, final checks, calibrations, and finishing work are being carried out to ensure the Urus will be fully ready for operation once complete. Everything from alignment to system testing is being finalized with extreme care. But for Hannah, it still feels like she is simply watching a remarkable restoration project reach its conclusion, unaware that the entire experience has been carefully designed around her from the very beginning, building to a final reveal that will turn everything she has seen so far into one unforgettable moment as the Lamborghini Urus finally approaches the end of its rebuild. The atmosphere inside the workshop begins to feel different, almost like everything is reaching a natural conclusion. Hannah can sense that the project is no longer in the early or middle stages, because now the car looks nearly complete from every angle. The body panels are properly aligned. The paintwork appears fresh and clean, and the interior has started to feel like a finished luxury space rather than a damaged or unfinished structure. Every time she steps closer to the vehicle, she notices small final touches being added, details that might seem minor individually, but together make a huge difference in how complete the car feels. She often walks around it slowly, observing everything carefully, comparing it in her mind to how it looked when she first saw it. That comparison alone makes her realize just how massive the transformation has been, and it fills her with genuine excitement and curiosity about what the final version will be like. The team continues to keep her involved in simple ways, allowing her to react to finishing details and share her thoughts on the overall look and feel of the car. This keeps her emotionally connected to the project, making her feel like she has been part of the journey from start to finish. At the same time, the final mechanical checks and system tests are being completed in the background, ensuring that everything is functioning exactly as it should. Every system is carefully verified so that when the car is finally revealed, it is not just visually complete, but also fully operational and ready to drive. As the final moments of the build approach, there is a growing sense that something special is about to happen, even though Hannah still does not fully realize what the true purpose of the entire journey has been. For her, it still feels like the conclusion of a long and interesting restoration project. But in reality, everything has been leading toward a carefully planned final surprise, one that will transform all of her memories of the build into a single unforgettable moment when the fully rebuilt Lamborghini Urus is finally revealed to her as the ultimate surprise. At this final stage, everything feels ready, but Hannah still has no clear idea that the biggest moment of the entire project is about to happen. The Lamborghini Urus now stands fully rebuilt in the workshop, looking completely transformed compared to the wreck she first saw at the beginning. Its body is clean, its stance is perfect, and every detail reflects the effort that has gone into bringing it back to life. The atmosphere is slightly different today, quieter, more focused, as if everyone understands that something important is about to take place. Hannah is brought in as usual, thinking she is simply coming to see the final result of a long restoration journey she has been part of from the start. She walks around the car slowly, observing it with a sense of satisfaction, noticing how far it has come since the early days when it was just a damaged shell. In her mind, this is the end of a fascinating project, something she will remember as a unique experience of watching a luxury car being rebuilt step by step. But what she does not realize is that this moment is not just an ending, it is the beginning of the real surprise. The team guides her closer to the vehicle, encouraging her to look at the final details, the interior finish, and the complete exterior transformation. Every step she takes builds anticipation, without her even knowing it. Then comes a moment where everything stops for a second and the truth of the entire journey is finally revealed to her. The Lamborghini Urus was never just a rebuild project she was casually involved in. It was always designed around her presence, her reactions, and her experience from the very beginning. The car she helped observe, understand, and emotionally connect with is now fully completed and ready, presented as a personal surprise built specifically for her. In that moment, everything she experienced throughout the journey suddenly makes sense. Every visit, every explanation, every small involvement was leading to this exact point. The fully rebuilt Lamborghini Urus now stands not just as a restored machine, but as a symbol of effort, patience, and emotion, turning the entire project into a once-in-a-lifetime surprise made especially for Hannah. After the reveal, everything slows down for a moment as Hannah fully takes in what has just happened. The Lamborghini Urus is not just a rebuilt luxury SUV in front of her anymore. It is a result of a journey she unknowingly became part of from the very beginning. Every memory comes back in her mind. The first time she saw the damaged wreck, the early questions she asked, the small decisions she made, and all those workshop visits where she thought she was simply observing progress. Now she realizes that every single moment was carefully connected to lead her here. The car stands complete, polished, and fully restored, but the real meaning is not only in its appearance or performance. It is in the story behind it. She understands that she wasn't just watching a rebuild. She was part of a carefully planned experience built around her reactions, curiosity, and emotions. The people around her can see the surprise and emotion on her face, because this was never just about mechanics or engineering. It was about creating something unforgettable that connects effort with feeling and machines with human emotion. The Lamborghini Urus now represents more than a project. It becomes a memory tied directly to her experience, making it far more valuable than just a car. As the moment settles, the excitement turns into appreciation, and the shock turns into a quiet realization of how much work, time, and planning went into this surprise. The journey that started with a wrecked vehicle has now ended with a fully restored super SUV and an emotional moment that will stay with her forever. And in the end, this is what makes the entire rebuild special. Not just a transformation of the car, but the unforgettable story built around Hannah, turning a simple restoration into a powerful and emotional surprise. As the day comes to an end, the workshop slowly returns to calm, but the impact of what just happened stays in the air. The Lamborghini Urus stands fully complete, no longer just a project or a rebuild, but a finished symbol of everything that happened over the entire journey. For Hannah, it is hard to process everything at once, because the experience was not something she watched from a distance. It was something she lived through step by step, without knowing the full picture. Now, looking back, every small moment feels much bigger. The simple conversations, the small design choices, the visits to the workshop, and the gradual transformation of the car all connect together like pieces of a story she didn't realize she was part of. The surprise is no longer just about the car itself, but about the meaning behind it. The time, effort, planning, and emotion that were into every stage of the rebuild. The Lamborghini Urus now represents more than luxury or performance. It represents a shared journey that turned a wrecked vehicle into something meaningful and unforgettable. For the team, it is a result of long hours of technical work, patience, and problem solving. For Hannah, it becomes a personal memory that she will always associate with excitement, curiosity, and surprise. As she stands beside the fully restored Urus, the feeling is not just happiness, but appreciation for the entire experience that led her here. The project that began with damage and uncertainty has now ended in completion, emotion, and a powerful reveal. And in the end, the real success of this rebuild is not only that the Lamborghini Urus was brought back to life, but that it created a story that connected people, effort, and emotion into one unforgettable moment centered around Hannah and the final moments of the experience. Everything feels almost unreal for Hannah as she stands beside the fully rebuilt Lamborghini Urus, still processing how quickly the journey has reached its conclusion. The once wrecked and damaged vehicle is now completely transformed, shining under the workshop lights like nothing ever happened to it. But for her, the real impact is not just the car itself. It is the realization of how deeply she was part of its story without even knowing it. Every step she took, every opinion she shared, and every time she visited the workshop now feels like a piece of a much bigger picture that was carefully designed around her experience. The emotional weight of this moment slowly settles in, turning excitement into reflection. She begins to understand that this was never just a simple rebuild project. It was a journey built with intention, patience, and meaning, where the final goal was not only to restore a luxury SUV, but to create a memory that would stay with her forever. The people around her can see how powerful the moment is, because it connects something technical like a car rebuild with something deeply personal like emotion and surprise. The Lamborghini Urus now stands as a final result of that connection, a machine that has been fully restored, but also a symbol of effort, care, and storytelling. As the moment fades into calm, what remains is not just a finished vehicle, but a lasting emotional experience that Hannah will always remember. The journey that started with a broken, wrecked Lamborghini has now ended with something far more meaningful, a complete transformation of both the car and the experience surrounding it, leaving behind a story that feels bigger than just engineering, a story built around surprise, emotion, and Hannah herself. As everything settles and the workshop returns to normal, the Lamborghini Urus now stands as a fully completed project. But its story feels much bigger than just a car rebuild. The transformation from a wrecked, damaged vehicle into a fully restored luxury SUV represents months of effort, patience, and careful planning. But the most important part of the journey is not the mechanical work. It is the experience that was built around Hannah from beginning to end. Looking back, every stage of the project connects like a timeline of hidden meaning, where each moment that seemed simple at the time was actually part of something much larger. From her first reactions to the damaged car, to her gradual involvement in decisions, and finally to the emotional reveal, everything was designed to create a journey that felt natural, engaging, and unforgettable. The Lamborghini Urus is now more than just a finished machine. It is a reminder how powerful an idea can become when emotion is combined with creativity and effort. For Hannah, this experience becomes something she will never forget, not because of the car alone, but because of how deeply she was connected to its transformation without realizing the full story behind it. For the team, it represents a successful build, both technically and emotionally, where every challenge was overcome step by step. And in the end, the real success of the project is not measured only in the restored vehicle, but in the lasting memory it created. A story that began with a wrecked Lamborghini Urus and ended with a powerful surprise built entirely around Hannah. And finally, as the cameras turn off and the workshop lights dim, what remains is not just a finished Lamborghini Urus, but a memory that will stay with everyone involved in this journey forever. The car now sits complete, restored to life from a wreck that once seemed impossible to fix, proving that with enough patience, skill, and determination, even the most damaged machines can be rebuilt into something extraordinary. But beyond the technical achievement, the real story has always been about Hannah and the emotional journey built around her. She came into this experience thinking she was simply observing a restoration project, but in reality, she became part of a carefully designed story where every step was quietly leading toward one final unforgettable moment.